Hey everyone, it's Lindsay Hoffman and welcome to the Dose of Bliss show. Today we have an episode all about how to heal your body with the food that you eat. We have registered dietitian and author of the book Meals That Heal, Carolyn Williams, with us today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to the show. So my followers are obsessed with this topic. I don't know if you know all this about me, but I had really bad stomach issues for about a year and nobody was helping me. The doctors were making me sicker. They even thought I had an autoimmune disease. It got so bad that I started drinking celery juice and just changing my entire diet. So I made a lot of videos about it. It's one of my most popular videos on my channel. And that's why I wanted to have you here, because so many people email me and they're just asking me, what do I do to help heal myself naturally? Because it took me about a year, but I went from being basically bedridden for a year, being in so much pain, to being pretty much normal again. So I'm really
Wow.
about how you can heal yourself through food, because I've experienced it myself.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
Definitely was a lot of work. And so, what I'd love to talk to you about first is things that I've learned as well, is how your gut is really related to so many issues that you could be experiencing.
Yeah, and the gut is so it almost sounds like some kind of something made up because you can't see it and you don't really know what's there, and but we are learning more and more about how much your gut health influences everything. I was just reading some studies about gut health and its connection to the brain and like depression and anxiety, and so it has such a huge influence on health. And one of the key ways, or the way I kind of explain it to people, is when you have a healthy gut, that means you've got lots of good bacteria and you've got a good sampling of lots of different strains. And when you have a healthy gut, when you have all those bacteria, they provide somewhat of like a protective lining in your intestines, so that when you digest food and your intestines are breaking it down, that lining allows the carbohydrates and the protein and the fats and the vitamins and the minerals to go through the intestinal walls into the bloodstream. But that good bacteria lining really prevents a lot of the other junk in food, like chemicals and colorings and just compounds that aren't naturally in food. That good gut lining really prevents those other things from going through the intestinal wall and getting in your body, so that they go on and just exit the body. So when your gut health isn't so great, then that means you don't have the diversity of bacteria that you need, or you may not have the number of the bacteria that you need to really create that lining. So you have a lining, but it's a lot of times what people call leaky. If you've heard leaky gut, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. So you have that lining, but it just doesn't work as well, and it's got holes in it. So when you digest food and when you absorb the vitamins and the carbs and the proteins and the fats through your intestinal walls into your body for your body to use, other things like chemicals and compounds that aren't naturally in food are able to also go through the intestinal walls into the body. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people aren't really sure what that bacteria do. Why exactly do I need a healthy gut? But it really is, it kind of protects things from getting into your body. Mm-hmm. Which helps prevent disease and inflammation, really.
Yeah, and it
is
goes
at the root of it.
So there's so many things that we're dealing with that we don't even know are caused by food. You had mentioned at the beginning of this that you've noticed sometimes it being linked with depression and your mood. Can you go a little bit deeper into what you've seen the research say?
Yeah, so there is a connection, and they're really don't know how strong this connection is, but there's a direct connection between the gut and the brain. For instance, Well, let me give you this example because, some people are like, yeah, right, because it is kind of hard to buy,
You say we do have gut feelings, so
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love that. Well, here's an example that makes you really kind of, take notice. When you're excited or nervous or scared, you almost always have some kind of effect in your gut area, in your intestines, right? It may be vague, but your emotions or what you're feeling in your head always usually have some kind of effect on your gut, when they're extreme emotions or feelings. So you've got to think that the gut has to have an equal effect on the brain. And what they are looking at now, there's a lot of research looking at how your gut health dictates and determines some of the chemicals and the neurotransmitters and the serotonin that your brain is making. In fact, about 90% of your serotonin in your body, which is that feel-good chemical in your brain that they patterned like Prozac after and that kind of thing, is made in your gut. And that was something I didn't know until a few months ago when I started looking into that connection more.
That is so interesting because, not to say that depression isn't something that major that people need help with, but there are a lot of things that could be causing it that we can really help that we don't know. It could be something that you're eating. I think we all feel that. If you eat a ton of McDonald's, you don't feel good after. If you eat it for a week, you don't really feel that good or that happy. So I think we've seen that ourselves, but it's just so interesting to see that there could be something that you think is going on when it could be a food that you're eating.
Exactly.
And you have a full body approach to healing.
This area is one that really fascinates me. A lot of people may take medication for, mental health issues like depression or anxiety. But what I've also found, those, usually work well for some people. But what I've also found is that if you still don't change your diet, that medication can't work as effectively as it could if you did change your diet, or if you were getting the right nutrients or healing the gut, which is kind of interesting to me. So it's not just about preventing it, but if you are treating it, then diet changes can help. And even if you're on medication, that may help the effectiveness of your medication.
Yeah, exactly. Because, when you're not eating right, it can affect the hormones in your body. It all really goes with each other. And I actually have a video about this too, is, when I was really sick, it was so bad that, obviously the doctors instantly were giving me acid reflux medicine. So it was like reflux and IBS and all of this stuff. And I was taking the medicine, but I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse. And that's where they thought I had an autoimmune disease, because I was starting to get symptoms like I had an autoimmune disease, because this medicine wasn't helping me. It was making me sicker. So then they wanted to keep giving me more tests, and maybe they would have given me more medicine. I would have gotten worse and worse. Yeah. And I kept saying, I think it's this medicine. I need to stop this medicine, because I had realized, even though all the doctors were saying, there is a label on the medicine that literally says 20% of people get an autoimmune type reaction. I looked it up. I kept saying I saw this article, and they said that's too small of a percentage. But I'm like, but I have every symptom. Like, this is me. Like, I even had a rash all over my face. It was really bad. And so I just stopped taking it. And that's when I realized that, obviously I was in pain. So I get the doctors wanted to stop the symptoms that I was having right then, because I was so bad. I couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed. They needed to stop the pain, but no one was getting to the root cause. I realized that the root cause wasn't whatever this medicine was doing, because this medicine was not helping me. It was making me worse. So I knew another cause. I had to go through everything I changed in my life. Like, I changed the creams I was using. I changed everything in my diet. And that's what ended up making me better. And I had to find what the root was, which is why I'm so interested in your book and everything you have to say. You have to do that.
That's kind of the gist of inflammation, because I have a feeling your body was already kind of irritated, and then you were feeding it this medicine, which it irritated it even more. And that's essentially inflammation. And that's inflammation. And if you told me I was going to write a book on inflammation 5 years ago, I said, you're crazy. No one will buy that. And then I just ended up kind of a happenstance, a series of events. And now, I think my friends get sick of me, because I'm like, that's inflammation, but everything goes back to it. And it starts out as very subtle signs, but every chronic disease, and a lot, we're set up, our medical system is set up where we just kind of put a Band-Aid on something, but it never touches the real root cause of what's causing it, because there's something at the root of it that is being irritated or is not working right. And I tell people inflammation, and that's inflammation, but I tell people inflammation is kind of like when you have a bad day, like at the office. Well, most of us aren't going to the office right now, but about, something just, doesn't go right. And then the rest of the day, when you encounter other things that wouldn't normally bother you, but because you're a little irritated, it just, more things seem to bother you than normal. That's how inflammation is. Once you have a little in your body, then your body's like a little more irritated, a little more sensitive. So other things like gluten and dairy that may not normally bother you if your body was calm, if you have some inflammation, those can aggravate it. And the inflammation just builds and grows, and can turn into other issues.
Mm-hmm. So how do we undo it? Can you tell us some of the common things that you see are easy to implement? Because what I'm seeing, even in my celery juice, and I'm not saying it's just celery juice that made me better. I've been working on this for 2 years now. And a lot of my comments are like, oh, I tried celery juice and changed my diet for a week and nothing happened. And it's like, well, I've been working on this for 2 years. It's like you break your leg isn't better in 2 days. It's like a year of rehabilitation and being in a cast.
Yeah.
So what can people do?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Usually the first question I get as a dietitian is, what do I need to cut out? What do I need to stop eating? Oh, I know I need to stop eating this. And I like to kind of point people the other direction, because to me, the most important thing is to start eating real food, particularly those fruits and vegetables. And I think that's why you've seen so much power in the celery juice. Get the real food, the produce, the leafy greens, the berries, the cruciferous vegetables. Get the produce in, add that and get that going, because we are so deficient in all those foods and all those nutrients. And real food is essentially what the body needs. Then start cutting stuff out more. That's usually a more doable approach. But our first instinct is like, okay, I'm cutting out this, and this. But really our body, yes, that's bothering our body, the bad stuff, but our body is also so starved for the good stuff. So I tell people to start incorporating those fruits and vegetables in particular. Get those and, aim for at least 5 produce servings a day, primarily, vegetables. There's just so much power. There's the strongest research really is with your produce, particularly like your leafy greens, your berries, your cruciferous vegetables. There's antioxidants, but then there's all these other phytochemicals in there that act as antioxidants or suppress disease or anti-inflammatories. And, we just aren't getting enough of those.
Mm-hmm. What's like a common misconception that people have over food that could cause inflammation that really doesn't necessarily do that?
I get questions a lot about dairy and gluten. And what I tell people usually is, let's cut them out initially, okay? But they may not be things that you have to cut out permanently. But again, when your body is irritated, it needs to calm down. So we really need to cut out all these potential irritants. We need to cut out processed food as much as you can. We need to cut out the dairy, the gluten, the excessive caffeine, all those little things that can irritate it, and just let the body kind of chill out. And also boost that gut health and get plenty of that produce in. And then once your body's calmed down, I suggest that people maybe add either some gluten in slowly for a few weeks and see if they have a reaction. Then maybe add a little dairy in and see if they have a reaction. And what people often find is there's some people that need to cut it out forever. But a lot of times what people will find is if they let their body just chill out, if they calm down that inflammation, then their body is fine with dairy or gluten or one of them or both. But when it's inflamed, it's just hypersensitive to those, and those become irritants. So it may not be permanent things you need to cut out.
Yeah, I can tell you I was so bad at one point I couldn't even eat carrots, like something healthy. That was a trigger food. I was so bad that I could only have like butternut squash soup and like almost nothing for a few months. And you would think I could just eat carrots. Now I can eat almost all my trigger foods at this point.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Not all of them, but I can eat maybe 1 to 2 times a week if I want like a Nutella or like something like junky. But I went from not even being able to eat a carrot, and I'm like, carrots are healthy, and that's how aggravated my body was. There must have been something in it that was aggravating my body, but you could just get that aggravated by food that you literally have to just get super, super basic and find what works to you. I definitely want you to touch on that, but also, you're talking about letting your body calm down. How long do we wait for the body to calm down?
It kind of depends on how irritated you are. If you are, and the thing with inflammation is it starts so subtle. It may just be like some new GI issues you're kind of having. It may be like a dull headache. It may just be, maybe you've noticed changes in your blood sugar, that you see more dips in it, or it's just subtle things, or maybe you have a skin irritation. And so ideally, if you notice it, then if you notice kind of some things like, my body, I didn't used to do that, it doesn't feel like it's running at 100%, but maybe it's still like, you're still running at 98%, but it's just not, everything's not like it should, then I would say do that for 2 to 3 weeks. Just really try to eat a clean diet, whole foods, minimally processed, cut out as much gluten and dairy as you can, focus on gut foods and produce, and because that's just some subtle inflammation, and your body just needs a quick reset almost. Or that's what I have found. That's what I kind of plan to do after the holidays when I eat some of those less healthy things. I'm gonna, kind of just reset my body with the good stuff. But if you've got substantial inflammation, because what happens if you don't treat that subtle inflammation, it's going to build. And so let's say you maybe have fluctuations with your blood sugar. Well, that can build, and that can lead to weight gain, and then that can lead to type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. All of those are driven by inflammation. So if you're at that point, it may take a little while longer. And for those people, I definitely recommend adding the good stuff and then slowly pulling the bad out. Just because we like to be all or nothing, kind of, okay, I'm going to change my diet overnight. And that's really hard for most people to do and sustain.
Yeah, you have to be able to maintain the diet. And what I found, and that's why I want to get into your book that I have over here, is like what I find when you're eating healthy and you're eating good foods and getting better at cooking them and following what's inside your book, which we're going to get into, you start to crave those foods because you start feeling so much better that it becomes easy because you see the difference. And if I do eat a trigger food like Nutella, sometimes I won't feel good 5 minutes later. And sometimes if I've gone really healthy for a week, I'm willing to like take that hit because I just wanted to eat a snack. But sometimes you're just like, I don't even want it. It's like negative reinforcement. And the other are so good and you feel so different, like a new person. It makes a difference. So I want to show everyone your book because you have like amazing recipes in here and actually tips that like I never know. I still suffer with this, like what to have in my refrigerator, what are staples. So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
So when I kind of put the whole inflammation connection together, and it was kind of like an aha moment for me as a dietitian, because I'm like, all these various topics. I do a lot of writing. I used to do a lot of writing for Cooking Light and Eating Well. But I realized all these different topics I've been writing in, from autoimmune to weight loss to, just you name it. All these health topics across the board that seem totally unrelated for the most part. It's like the solution to all of these is reducing inflammation, is an anti-inflammatory diet. And I really just kind of had an aha moment. And then I also remember thinking, oh my gosh, and if this would benefit, this really benefits everybody in every ages, like what if I was able to start implementing this with my kids now? I can't imagine how different their health might be in 30 or 40 years. So then I was left with this and I was like, well, gosh, this sounds great, but I'm overwhelmed and I'm a cook and I'm a dietitian. I mean, I create recipes for a living. I thought, I'm overwhelmed. I'm already overwhelmed to begin with getting dinner on the table for my kids, but now I'm completely overwhelmed with how to do it in a healthy way that my kids will eat, So really this book came about is kind of me figuring it out. Cause I was like, I've got to make it easy. And if I can make it doable, it went in the book. You know, really every recipe, especially the entree ones, I was, you know, one of the tests was, okay, how does it taste? You know, my kids taste everything too. Don't ask them about the reviews. They are so over mom testing stuff on them. But, you know, one of my kind of factors for deciding whether it went in the book was, would I actually make this at 6 p.m. when I got home from work, back when we went to an office, and I have kids needing help with homework, someone going out to soccer practice, would I actually make this and want to eat this, you know, with all the chaos around me? And if I said yes, then it went in the book. But, you know, so I really tried to take a realistic approach, because that's the only way you can make it happen, including for me.
Yeah, exactly. Can you let everyone know where they can find it? Because, you know, everyone asks me like what I'm doing, what I'm like eating. And it's really, I'm using recipes from this book. I'm following tips like this. This is how you keep it. And when the food tastes good, you don't miss the other food. So can you please let everyone know where they can find it? 'Cause this is
I'd love to. So you can get it in any major bookstore, online. Amazon has it, and Amazon usually has a pretty good deal on it. And then it's also available on my website, which is carolynwilliamsrd.com. So you should be able to get it a variety of places.
Amazing. Yes, I'll link it below. And you guys, I'm not just saying this works. I've tried it. I found out about this from my friend Heather, who connected us together. She has a lot of skin issues, and she had this huge rash on her neck that never went away. She had really bad eczema, and she started doing this book. I don't know if she even told you, she started doing the book, and she got rid of her eczema for the first time in her entire life. And so
I did not know that.
That's why I was like, I need the recipes, I need the book, I need to connect, because I've been on this journey, and I really, now that I'm getting better, I want to maintain it and have really good foods. And I'm like, if this helped Heather get rid of her eczema she had her entire life, she also had all these stomach issues too her whole life, they're all finally gone. And so I'm just like, I need to tell everyone about this book and have you on the show, because so many people reach out to me, but I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying what I've done to help myself.
Yeah.
Professional, and you are. So I wanted to share.
Awesome. Well, and one thing I should add too, you know, I think a lot of times people assume there's going to be all these weird ingredients. You're going to have to go to a health food store. Let me just tell people, if you can't tell by my voice, I live in Alabama. So I can't find it at the grocery store down the street in Alabama. It's not in there. I really tried to get just key ingredients that every store would have, you know, or that you might already have on hand.
Yeah, and it's also foods like, you know, I've tried a lot of different recipe books, and a lot of them just will take out all the flavor. It won't taste good, so you don't want to maintain it. Like, you know, you eat that meal when you're trying to be healthy and trying to feel better, but then you're still hungry at the end because you're literally eating just like plate. And then you're just, that's what you think of this. I mean, you can see by the cover of the book, that's not what it is. And that's like the key to maintaining it, is realizing that you actually can eat a lot of foods and that they taste good. And this book really does make it easy. Like, you even have the grocery list, staples to have in your house. You know, I really looked at it. Those are my problems. Like, that's what I'm actually struggling with right now. So it's like, my YouTube is also all about manifestation. So the fact that you're here for me and the people watching, it's really something that I needed in my life. And I'm really happy that I can like learn from it from you and share that with other people.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so glad you've loved it. And I love your story. That's an amazing testament to just, you know, changing the way you eat.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had more time. I have so many people with stories of people who've done that, but we only have a few minutes left. So we already know where people can find your book. Where can they find you? And then I also want to end this on, what's the biggest thing you want people to remember?
Okay, so they can buy the book at any major bookstore out there. Amazon also has it. And then you can also go to my website, carolynwilliamsrd.com. You can find me on Instagram at realfoodreallife_RD. And let's see, what else?
The biggest thing you want people to know.
Oh, the biggest thing that I want people to know. You know, get the real food in. Aim for a cup of leafy greens a day. Aim for cruciferous vegetables, those which are the ones that usually stink when you're cooking, like broccoli and cauliflower and kale. Any of those, if they stink, that's a good thing. Those sulfur compounds have healing power. Get those in 5 times a week at least, and get berries in 2 to 3 times a week at least.
That's amazing. Well, I'm going to link where everyone can find you below. And thank you so much for coming. If you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe. Please give both of us a follow. And let us know in the comments below if you have any questions. We're always here to help. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for coming. Bye.
Thank you.